The fantasy action film opened in England during World War II. It was 1 year after the last adventure in Narnia. Edmund Pevensey failed in his attempt to join the army due to his young age. He was frustrated for being called a squirt. He boasted, "I'm a king. I've fought wars and I've led armies." Edmund and Lucy Pevensey had been residing with wretched cousin Eustace Scrubb for 253 days in Cambridge, hosted by their Uncle Harold and Aunt Alberta. Meanwhile, older siblings Susan Pevensey and Peter Pevensey were on other adventures. Traveling through America with their parents, Lucy was both envious and upset that she wasn't as pretty as her sister. Eustace mocked their belief when he found Edmund and Lucy staring at a painting in Lucy's room of a Narnian-looking ship on the high seas. Suddenly, the water in the picture began to flow into the room. The torrent flooded the room and then transported the threesome into the Narnian Ocean, where they swam to the surface. They were rescued by the magnificent purple-sailed vessel, the Dawn Treader. Eustace felt he had been abducted and complained, "I want to go back to England." He was wrestled to the deck by Rhys Epicheap, who called him a hysterical interloper. Other crew members, including the ship's captain Lord Drinian and various Minotaurs, Tavros and Germain. Caspian introduced the castaways as High King and Queen of Narnia. As everyone bowed, they were delighted to be returned to Narnia, but not Eustace. Lucy was given back her healing cordial and dagger, and Edmund was presented with the flashlight he'd left behind. "There is peace across all of Narnia in just 3 years," Caspian declared, before Caspian X had taken back the throne from his corrupt uncle, usurper king. Miraz had tried to kill the closest friends and most loyal supporters of Caspian's father king, Caspian IX. The so-called the Seven Lords of Telmar had fled to the Lone Islands in the Great Eastern Ocean, but no one has heard from them since. Caspian, who also admitted that he had not yet found a wife, stated it was his duty to find out what had happened to the seven lost lords. While conversing with Rhys Epicheap, Lucy was told that Aslan's country lay to the east as far as one could sail, to the end of the world. The mouse hoped that he would one day have the right to journey there. They first set anchor at the port of Narrow Haven before coming ashore with longboats at the Lone Islands. Once Narnian land, the Lone Islands had suspiciously been taken over by Calorman slave traders. The Narnian group were surrounded and captured. Caspian and Edmund were imprisoned in irons, while Lucy and Eustace were prepared to be auctioned off as slaves. In the dungeon, they met bearded and aging prisoner Lord Byrne, the first of the Seven Lords, who saw a resemblance between Caspian and the previous king, Caspian IX. He was shocked that he was speaking to Caspian's son. Edmund watched as a few unsold slaves were taken to the dock, and Citizen Rintz resisted the traders who were taking away his wife Helene. The boat sailed out to sea, where everyone sacrificially disappeared in trails of a mysterious green mist. Lord Byrne described how he was investigating the slave trade and the source of the mist with other lords when he was apprehended, and the others also disappeared. During the slave auction, Drinian and other crew rescued the 4 captive Narnians and killed the slave traders during the scuffle. After purging the island of slavery, reclaiming the Lone Islands, and before sailing off, Caspian was given Lord Byrne's magical sword. It was one of the 7 swords from the Golden Age of Narnia, entrusted to the 7 Telmarine lords by King Caspian IX. They were originally gifts from Aslan to protect Narnia. Rintz begged to sail with Caspian to find his missing wife, and Caspian agreed. As they journeyed onward, Eustace wrote in his diary that everyone was delusional or barking mad, chasing green mists and looking for lost lords. He was caught stealing food rations by Rhys Epicheap, and the two dueled on deck for sport. Rintz's stowaway daughter Gale was discovered hiding, but was quickly accepted and welcomed by both Drinian. "Looks like we have an extra crew, Ember and Lucy. Welcome aboard." Sailing eastward, they came upon another island, Magician's Island. It was somewhere the lords would have stopped if they were following the mist. It could either be a trap or hold some important answers. They spent the night on shore and the next day planned to scour the island, while the crew slept for invisible dufflepuds, leaving large footprints in the sand. Abducted Lucy and brought her to their oppressor's invisible mansion. She had been ordered by the illiterate dufflepuds to recite a spell of visibility. Recite the spell that makes the unseen seen. From a book to have the spell make them reappear. Inside, Lucy found the Book of Incantations filled with spells. Before reciting the invisibility spell, she initiated the spell for snow, which brought snowflakes floating into the room. She ripped out a page with a beauty spell. to make herself beautiful like her sister Susan, and hid it. She guiltily heard Aslan call her name as a green mist circled the room. While the Narnian crew members searched for Lucy, she was reciting the spell for visibility, and magician Koryakin appeared before her. While confronting the crew outside, the Dufflepuds, jumping short-statured, one-legged creatures, also became visible, as well as the magician's mansion. The magician, called Oppressor by the Dufflepuds, claimed he had made the Dufflepuds invisible for their own protection from the evil green mist. He was referring to what lies behind the mist, unfurling a make-believe map of the world. He described how Dark Island was the source of their troubles. He further said, "It can take any form. It can make your darkest dreams come true. It seeks to corrupt all goodness, to steal the light from this world. To stop it," he asserted, "you must break its spell." The 6 other lords with the remaining 6 swords had already passed through to where he had sent them. To defeat the evil, Koryakin continued, "To break the spell, you must follow the blue star to Ramandu's island there. The 7 swords must be laid at Aslan's table. Only then can their true magical power be released. But beware, you are all about to be tested. Until you lay down the 7th sword, evil has the upper hand. It will do everything in its power to tempt you. Be strong, don't fall to temptation to defeat the darkness out there. You must defeat the darkness inside yourself." As they followed the blue star, tempestuous storm lasting 14 days came upon the Dawn Treader after they departed from Magician's Island. It was feared they would run out of rations in a few weeks, not see the blue star again, possibly sail off the edge of the world, or get eaten by sea serpents. Drinian stated, "The sea can play nasty tricks on the crew's mind." Feeling inferior to Susan and her beauty, Lucy was the first to be seriously tempted by the mist. She recited the beauty incantation spell she had ripped from the book. In a mirror's reflection, she saw herself transformed into her more beautiful sister Susan. She fantasized or envisioned herself at an outdoor garden party with Peter and Edmund escorting her for a photograph. They knew nothing of Lucy or Narnia and called her Susan. Fearful that Lucy or Narnia no longer existed, she yelled, "Stop this," and was brought back to her normal self. Aslan appeared in the mirror to caution Lucy about doubting herself. "You wished yourself away, and with it much more. Your brothers and sister wouldn't know Narnia without you. Lucy, you discovered it first, remember? You doubt Don't run from who you are." She was startled by the crashing sounds of thunder. She threw the page with the beauty incantation into the fire, causing the green mist to travel to 2 other victims. Caspian, who was having troubling nightmares regarding his father, and Edmund, who had a vision of the white witch calling to him, "Come with me, join me." Awakened, Edmund postulated, "So either we're all going mad, or something is playing with our minds." The next stop for the Dawn Treader was a volcanic island named Deathwater Island, where they searched for food and water and also looked for clues. After taking boats to the island, Edmund, Lucy, and Caspian climbed down into a cavern where they discovered a magical pool of water. The second of the 7 lords, Lord Restamar, had fallen into the water and turned into a solid gold statue. Restamar's golden sword, the 2nd sword, was retrieved, but then Edmund was tempted by the gold water. Whoever has access to this pool could be the most powerful person in the world, and the possibility of ultimate riches. He challenged Caspian over his kingship and leadership when Caspian reminded him, "You can't take anything out of Narnia, Edmund." Edmund asserted himself, "I'm tired of playing second fiddle. First it was Peter, and now it's you. You know I'm braver than both of you. Why do you get Peter's sword? I deserve a kingdom of my own. I deserve to rule." They began dueling, but stopped when Lucy warned them of the testing that Koryakin had cautioned them about. "Can't you see what's happening? This place has tempted you. It's bewitching you." Greed also infected Eustace's mind when he wandered from the group, found piles of sparkling treasures, gold, jewels, etc., and gathered all he could carry. "I must be dead," he said to himself. He placed a bracelet on his arm, taken from a skeleton. When the Narnian group returned to their boats on the shore to leave, they realized that Eustace was missing. A search party consisting of Edmund and Caspian found the pile of treasure and fragments of Eustace's burnt clothes. They determined that the skeleton was the remains of Lord Octesian, the 3rd Lord, and took his sword. As the rest of the crew prepared to set sail, they heard a roaring sound and saw bursts of flames. Suddenly, the crew was attacked by a flying, fire-breathing horned dragon. On shore, Edmund was snatched and abducted and flown over the island. He read words etched by fire in the ground. "I am Eustace." The tempted Eustace had been transformed into the creature by the green mist. The Pevensies, Caspian, and a few other crew members remained ashore for the night to keep Eustace. Lucy comforted young Gale, promising that Aslan would help them locate her mother taken in the mist. Reepicheep reassured Eustace about his fate. All is not as lost as it seems. You know, extraordinary things only happen to extraordinary people. Maybe it's a sign that you've got an extraordinary destiny, something greater than you could have imagined. The group awoke when Gale alerted them to the sight of the blue star in the sky to guide them to their next destination. They rowed when the wind curiously died down, and Eustace pulled the ship along with his tail as they proceeded along, and eventually arrived at Ramandu's island at nightfall. They climbed the steep cliffs through a jungle, and in a dark clearing came upon Aslan's feasting table. Nearby were 3 more lords covered with overgrowth: Lord Revilian, Lord Mavermorn, and Lord Argaz, each with another sword. They were all breathing, but under an overpowering spell, presumably from the food. All 6 swords were placed on top of the table, still missing one, after which the blue star descended and appeared in the form of a beautiful young woman, Liliandil, Ramandu's daughter. She welcomed them as their guide and invited them to eat, claiming the food was safe. "The food is for you." She stated that when all is put right, the 3 lords would be awakened. They were half mad when they reached Aslan's table and threatened violence, so they were put to sleep. She pointed out the location of dark islands surrounded by green mist, seen in the far-off distance where, before long, the evil will be unstoppable. To end the evil, the 7th sword had to be retrieved from there. Liliandil told them there was little time. "You will need great courage." Caspian seemed awestruck by Liliandil's shimmering blue beauty. "I hope we meet again." And she was mutually attracted to him, indicated by a smile, before she departed into the sky. After sailing closer to Dark Island, Edmund noted that our worst nightmares were located there. Caspian added, "Our darkest wishes," and Drinian said, "pure evil." Battle preparations were made by the Narnian crew. Caspian entrusted Peter's sword to Edmund for the upcoming fight. Riding on the dragon's head, Reepicheep encouraged the dragon to be courageous. "Come on, let's meet our destiny." Caspian delivered a rousing speech to his crew before the fight. "Together we have traveled far. Together we have faced adversity. Together we can do it again. So now is not the time to fall to fear's temptations. Be strong. Never give in. Our world, our Narnian lives, depend on it. Think of the lost souls we're here to save. Think of Aslan. Think of Narnia." As they sailed into the island, the green mist enveloped the Dawn Treader, and some saw visions. Rince saw Helene, Caspian his father, and Edmund the White Witch. The witch enticed Edmund with promises of royalty. "I'll let you rule." They came upon a bearded man on a rock outcropping crying out, "Keep away! You will not defeat me." It was the 7th Lord, Lord Roop, brandishing the 7th sword. The dragon snatched Lord Roop and brought him on board, where he warned Caspian, "There's no way out of here. Do not let it know your fears, or it will become them." Unfortunately, Edmund's demonic fears were revealed to the evil mist, and a sea serpent attacked the ship. Theo defend the Narnians. The dragon viciously attacked the serpent with his fire breath. Maddened by his own fear of the creature, Lord Roop threw his sword into the dragon's hide, causing it to fly away. While the serpent was wrecking the retreating ship by wrapping itself around it, Lucy prayed to herself, "Aslan, please help us." Edmund taunted the screeching serpent before it was smashed into the rocks. Meanwhile, the wounded dragon crash-landed on a sandy island beach on Ramandu's island, where Aslan approached, roared, and turned the dragon back into young Eustace. The boy took the 7th sword and ran to Aslan's table to place it with the other 6 clattering and glowing swords. Edmund was able to kill off the misty green vision of the White Witch, promising, "I can make you my king," at the same time that Eustace placed the 7th sword on the pile of other crossed swords. Edmund's empowered sword glowed bright blue, enabling him to slay the serpent and destroy the White Witch at the same time. Also, the spell was lifted and the 3 lords awoke, seated at Aslan's table. Slaves sacrificed to the green mist were restored and returned, including Gale's mother. Eustace swam to rejoin the Narnian crew. Aslan's country at the end of the world, now in view. In the film's conclusion, Lucy, Edmund, Caspian, Eustace, and Reepicheep rowed in a small boat toward Aslan's country, gliding through water covered with white water lilies. Converted back to a boy, Eustace apologized for being such a sop. "I think I was a better dragon than I was a boy." They arrived on a white sandy beach with a massive wave held up at the shoreline. Aslan walked next to them and then congratulated them at the end of their journey. He said his country lay just beyond the wave. He told them that if they were to continue on to his country, there is no return. A Caspian contemplated journeying on to see his father, but then chose to remain in Narnia. I can't imagine my father would be very proud that I gave up what he died for. I spent too long wanting what was taken from me and not what was given. I was given a kingdom, a people. To Aslan, I promised to be a better king. Epechep requested Aslan's blessing about his deep yearning to see Aslan's country, and was granted his wish for being so noble and deserving. He bid farewell to tearful Eustace's devastation, entered the wave by rowing himself up in a small coracle, and disappeared, never again to be seen in Narnia. To Edmund had told Lucy that he was ready to return home to their family. They need us. With a mighty roar, Aslan opened a portal in the wave to allow the Pevensey children to go home. Because Edmund and Lucy had grown up just like Peter and Susan, they would not return to Narnia. Aslan promised to visit them in their world. I shall be watching you. Always, in your world, I have another name. You must learn to know me by it. They bid a final sad farewell to Caspian and Aslan before leaving. Eustace would also return home with the Pevenseys, but would be allowed to return. Narnia may yet have need of you. As the water swirled behind them, the three returned to the flooded English bedroom where they began their journey to Narnia. The water drained away and was restored to the painting. They heard Eustace's mother Alberta call them downstairs to greet visitor Jill Pole. Eustace spoke in voiceover. We spoke often of Narnia in the days that followed, and when my cousins left after the war ended, I missed them with all my heart, as I know all Narnians will miss them till the end of time. After Eustace rehung the painting on the wall, they watched as the Dawn Treader sailed away and disappeared over the horizon, before the three left the bedroom and closed the door. Join us for more movie recaps.